So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to spot red flags in relationships. You're going to learn what signs to look for, what to do, and what not to do. There are some of you who get in these relationships, and let's say you just really want this relationship to work. There are things that happen in the relationship that you may see signs. They call them red flags. It's like little things, not really little things, but these subtle, it's like little evidence of this may be off. Basically, your red flag or a red flag in a relationship is an intuitive indicator that something is off, something needs to be questioned, something doesn't feel right. Maybe you may have some issues trusting that person, something that they did or they said, or it seems like they do certain things on purpose, or they go a couple of days without calling or talking to you and then they come back around, or just little things. Maybe they kind of seem like they're hiding some information or whatever. So you may feel like you see these red flags, but a lot of people, especially when they really like the relationship, they choose to ignore the red flags. First of all, when it comes to relationships, you want to pay attention to how you feel in the very beginning. If you're feeling insecurity from the other person, or if you feel insecure when it comes to dealing with that person, that's a red flag. You want to pay attention to that, because if you feel like I really can't be myself, I really don't feel comfortable relaxing around this person, like you feel like you need to some people say wear a mask, not literally a mask, but they put on this different image or identity because they feel like they can't really be comfortable in their own skin around that person. So you want to ask yourself, how am I feeling in this relationship? Do I feel safe in this relationship? Do you feel that you can trust this person, that this is someone that you can really connect to? So you want to pay attention to that. You don't want to ignore your feelings, because your feelings, it gives you information. It gives you feedback that you really want to use when it comes to developing and growing in your relationship. Pay attention to the way they talk to their ex. If they're always talking negative about the person they used to be in a relationship with, that's a red flag. If that relationship is over, first of all, you want to ask, why are they still talking about that person? Do they still have feelings for that person? Are they not completely over that person? What's going on behind that? If they're constantly talking about their ex, and then if they're talking about their ex in a negative, bad way, you want to ask, are they the kind of person that is bitter? Do they hold on to grudges? Are they angry? Do you think they're going to take this out on me? Are they going to compare me to their ex? If he is talking bad about his ex, eventually, as the relationship progresses, don't ever believe that he's not going to say anything negative about you. Because people, if that's who they are, if they're the kind of person who's constantly talking bad about another person, it's a big chance that you may be on that list eventually. You definitely want to pay attention to that. You definitely want to be aware of that. You really take who you are in every situation. When they're unhappy in their life, they think, oh, I just need a new relationship. But actually, if you're unhappy in that situation, you're going to eventually be unhappy in another situation until you do the work necessary for you to find that inner happiness and joy within yourself. And you can't really look for another person to give you that. So you want to pay attention to what their family, relatives, and friends say about them. You want to listen to those things. If they have family who speaks negatively or have issues with them, or they have all this drama with, their friends and family, that's a red flag. That's a red flag that you want to be aware of. Like, this person has drama everywhere they go. That drama can become drama with you eventually. How do they treat their children or the people that they're connected to? That tells you a lot. Those are all red flags that you want to pay attention to. If you're in a relationship with someone, and let's say you really, 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 really like them, right? So you're doing all this stuff. You're planning dates. You're just really putting it all, and you're having a good time, and you're enjoying that person. If that person isn't putting that much effort into the relationship, that's a red flag. A lot of times people don't realize it until it's later down the line in a relationship where they say, okay, wait a minute. I'm the one that's doing all the calling, the texts, and the date planning, and not to say that you have to keep score or be the kind of person that throws stuff in people's face when you do something, but you do want to pay attention to the fact that, is this person showing any effort? Are they really excited about being in a relationship with you? Do they show that they enjoy your presence? Do they get excited about spending time with you? Or are they willing to just ghost you and not talk to you for a couple of days? Those are things you don't want to ignore. You want to pay attention to those things. And then what happens is, at the end of the relationship, there's a big breakup, big heartbreak. They're devastated. They can't believe this person hurt them. They're hurting. And then they say, you know what? I saw the red flags in the beginning. I ignored them. And they always get to that place where they go back and say, you know what? I remember when they did this and when they said that. And I didn't feel right when that happened, but I ignored it, and I kept giving them a chance after chance, and that's what happens. So it's so important that you pay attention to that. That's your intuition. That's your gut telling you something's off, and you should not allow that to be ignored. It's something that you need to address. It's something that you need to confront. So let's get into Q&A. One question I did have from a client, she's basically in this relationship. They dated for a while, but the problem was the person traveled a lot with work. There were times when, he would be traveling, but he would never, check on her or anything like that. And she wanted to know, what should she do? Should she address the situation? Should she just ignore it, or just stay in the relationship and hope that things will get better? My advice would be, if you are in a relationship with someone and you are looking for a connected, committed relationship, you desire something long term, you desire something that is genuine, I think it's very important to address. I think you should definitely communicate how you feel and how important it is that you both are communicating on a day-to-day basis, and that there's effort put in. And if that's an issue, if that person has a problem with doing that, be okay with knowing that's not the relationship for you. The problem is, we try to force things to work, and it just may not be for you. You may be blocking yourself from receiving what something way better, way more beautiful and loving and connected, because you're trying to hold on to something that you really don't want. A relationship that's emotionally unavailable, that's not in communication with you. You don't want that. But when you're trying to force something to work that's just not what you really desire, you kind of hold yourself back from what you really do want. Yeah. So I think you really should make that decision to have that conversation and know that your time, you have no time to waste. Life is sacred. Who wants to sit around chasing around somebody who's not willing to be involved in a relationship.
And that makes me think about, just red flags in general, because I think that sometimes people engage in relationships with others, and at the beginning of the relationship, it can be somebody can be excessively nice. They giving roses, they giving everybody roses in your whole family, and they
Yeah.
coming up and they doing this. They want to take you out to dinner, and they want to do this and they want to do that. They doing all of that excessively at the beginning of the relationship. But then, as time goes on, they become emotionally unavailable in that relationship and become preoccupied by other things around them. Be sure that you're in a relationship that's moving at the speed that you desire,
Yeah.
and not being forced to run a race that somebody else is pulling you along in.
Then there's another extreme side to it, and the person who clings to your every moment and minute, want to know where you are, what you're doing every second of the day, and they kind of smother you with this attention. That can be toxic too.
Well, and it can be controlling.
And controlling and manipulative, because a lot of times people who are manipulators and who want to have things their way, they want to make sure in the beginning that they fully have you, separate you from everybody else. You always with them. You never can, be with your other friends and family. And they just want to just basically take all your time and attention, so that when they know they really have you and they really got you, now they can do whatever they want to do, and they still have this hold on you in some sense. So you really don't, you want to take your time, and you really don't. That's a big red flag too. If somebody's just constantly wanting all your time and attention, that can be very manipulative. It's unhealthy. Yeah. Very unhealthy. You need your own space. You need that balance. You need to have time for each other, but you also need to know when to have your space. Your space is very important, and that's healthy for your mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, because ultimately at the end of the day, regardless of people pressing or doing all of these things, you want to be able to rely on that individual. You want them to be reliable. And that's a red flag too. If you're dealing with somebody that's unreliable in their own life, whether it's goals that they say that they have, things that they desire that they're not committing to, things that are going on while people are allowing life to happen to them, they can become unreliable to themselves. So ultimately, that this person at some point in time, you will deal with that individual as well.
Yes.
So pay attention to that reliability and that person just being available. Now, I do have a question, so I want to go to the question too, because we was talking about friends, and one of the questions that came up was, can men have multiple female friends that they guard? I think from the standpoint, I don't understand what guard means, not necessarily, but I do know that there can exist relationships with other individuals that still has the same level of respect and regard for your relationship. I think if you have friendships with individuals, you know how to set the proper boundaries so that you're not in a place to where you getting too close to those individuals, you compromising your relationship with the person that you're with, and you also understand and respect how they feel about it, because ultimately I think that should be something that you discuss. If you engaging with all these different females, you feel like you got to take up for this one, you got to do this for that one, you know what I'm saying, and you splitting your time between all of those people and the person that you have at home, I think at that point, you need to check your priorities. But I do think that it's important that you really pay attention to setting the proper boundaries so that you don't put yourself in a compromising position and mislead anybody in the relationships that you have to believing that you step out on the relationship or you're available for all type of uncanny activities in the midst of your socializing.
You need to have that conversation with the person you're in a relationship with, and you need to let them know how you feel about that. Like, if it's a business relationship where they're doing business together, that's different. But if it's like we're just friends, socializing, hanging out, going here and there
Yeah,
together.
we drinking together, we hanging out all night, hitting the club up, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. I think it should be some boundaries, and you should definitely have that conversation and let them know how you feel about that. I think about just how it may look to someone to see, like, okay, let's, for instance, she's in a relationship with this guy and her family know that they're in a relationship, and one of her family members see him out having lunch with some other female, that's going to look suspicious. So just being aware, even if it's so-called friend, what does that communicate to not only you in the relationship with them, but other people who are connected to the relationship.
And I think it's important to pay attention to that, because sometimes people act like, you know what, I'm just socializing, I don't care what other people think. But I think that you should have enough respect for the person that you with to consider those things and not just be like, you know what, I don't care what other people think, I know what it is, I'm doing what I do anyway. I think you should have a certain level of respect for the person you with to say, you know what, I know what it is, but I don't want to appear to be something that I'm not. I don't want to appear to be available for something that I'm not available for. And ultimately, I don't want to hurt the person that I'm with, so I don't even want to put myself in that type of situation. So there was another question. How can you get over your ex? Like, I keep talking to my ex 3 years and it went nowhere, but I still keep contact with him. And this man have been disrespectful to me in the end of draining me. So now I just need to know, how can I get over him to be happy again?
You need to do the work. You need to do the process. It's been 3 years. You've still held on to that relationship. At some point, you need to have no contact. You need to cut it off. If you know, like I said, life is sacred. And if you know this person is not serious about a relationship with you, they're not trying to be in a relationship with you, they're your ex, they're no longer in that loving, or I don't know if it was a loving relationship or an intimate relationship or whatever, but there's no more of that. So you have to ask yourself, what am I getting out of this? How is this depleting me in my life? How am I holding myself back to be available for the man that I really desire? You want to ask yourself that, because you're holding yourself back and you can't really put all the blame on him and that he's draining you. You're a part of that. You're a part of that process as you continue to stay connected with him.
We got to start believing people when they expose how they are. And there was a reason that we separated ourselves, especially in the relationship. There's a reason that you separated yourself or the relationship didn't work. The reason that you stepped away from that person is to protect your peace and to guard yourself from the hurt that relationship brought you. And staying in that environment is only a reminder of all of those things that brought you that pain, that brought you that hurt. And as much as individuals can be in a place where they can trick themselves into remembering the positive moments and the positive times, we can give excuses for others, but ultimately we got to believe that behavior. Regardless of what's going on, we have to be able to say, this individual has control over how they respond to life, because life has its level of changes and curveballs, and we got to figure out how to maneuver through that. And the important thing about it is, we can't take those situations that change out on the people that's most closer to us, because people go through life and they experience things in their jobs, in their external experiences, and they bring home all that frustration, all of that negative energy into their house, and then they got an attitude with their girlfriend, with their wife, with their kids, all of that stuff, and it ain't got nothing to do with them. All them feelings that they operating with don't have nothing to do with them, but they ain't going off on the ball. They need that money.
And you teach people how to treat you by what you accept and what you allow. If you keep allowing the mistreatment, they'll keep mistreating you because you taught them that you will allow it. Be aware of that you're teaching that person how to treat you.
There was a comment that says, I was in a 6-year relationship with a great man, but he was controlling and wanted me with him all the time. We both were homebodies, but if I went out, which was very rare, and he texting me, and if I don't respond right away, that was a problem. and attitude when I got home and I couldn't take it no more and I walked away.
That sound like someone who was very jealous or insecure. You need your space. You need your time. And you got to be willing. Healthy relationships trust each other. Healthy relationships are built on me having faith and trusting that you're going to do the right thing and allowing you to go and to have fun and to enjoy yourself. What we have can't be replaced. When you know what you bring to the table, there's no fear in that. There's no insecurity in that because you're already secure within yourself. And so that's where it starts. When you're secure within yourself, it helps your loving relationship to be even more beautiful, even more better, even more safe. And that's how you can have a relationship for so many years and still be happy and still have passion and desire and all of those wonderful things and grow together. I think people limit themselves, they limit their relationships, they become bored and fearful, and that's not what life is about. It really isn't. You gotta let yourself be free.
Yeah. And speaking of being free, I think it's equally important that we free ourselves of the negative mindsets about relationships in general. I think you have to set the boundaries and you have to set the expectations for where you want to be and what you desire for your life and how you want to share that with the individual that God placed in your life. So I have another question. It says, what do you do when they won't respect your boundaries? I think that it's important to communicate that you're serious about those boundaries and that they are not something that you're compromising in. People can play those games where they hear you say what you say, and because of past relationships of people articulating things that they feel and believe and not really sticking to them, they just have a history of not respecting what people say.
They have to respect your boundaries and your standards, and you have to stick to it.
You gotta stand firm and you gotta be committed. This question is it okay to leave someone when you are not receiving the things that you need and want in the relationship?
That's a decision that you have to make. You know, like I said, if you can't communicate to that person what's important to you, if you don't really feel that the relationship is working on or that person don't want to work on the relationship, you need to make some type of decision, because making no decision is making a decision. When you make no decision, you're making a decision to stay in a situation or to just settle for a situation that you no longer approve of in your life. You got to understand, you're making a decision every day. Is that decision serving you, and does it serve the relationship as a whole?
And sometimes men are in situations where they feel they have a belief system that they feel that if they're working, paying bills, that's all they got to do. And that's enough. I'm working hard, I'm paying bills, I'm still here, I'm working, I'm providing, so therefore there's nothing else that I need to do. The key in kind of transforming that mindset is communicating the importance of investing in your relationship. But this is more of us investing in our love life and our friendship together. Then I think that can slowly transform that thinking.
Thank you guys for joining us. We really enjoyed this conversation. Be sure to like, comment, and share the video. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yes.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We really enjoy connecting with you in this show. Now I want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments, what did you take away from today's message? And how will you begin to seek out the red flags when it comes to relationships? Be sure to like, comment, and share our messages with others, and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to also join us in the next episode. We look forward to connecting with you.